All right, we are going to try doing our names now. So there's a couple things to consider. If you have a long name, I've been checking my roster, and some of you have up to 10 letters. I have 7. So I just like to write the name out, and then I like to find if I have an odd number like 7, what's the letter that's in the middle? And so mine is A. So I know that my A needs to be centered in my paper so that I have enough room to get all my letters. So now I know I need to be able to fit an A and then 3 letters on this side and 3 letters on that side for a total of 7. Okay, so if you have even letters, like let's say you do have 10 letters, then you're going to be finding the center point and making sure that you have 5 on this side of the paper and 5 on this side of the paper. We do want to make sure that they're all evenly spaced. So what I just did is I just measured up to kind of center my letters right in the middle of the paper. I just measured up to 3 inches and made a little mark. And I came over on this side and measured up 3 inches and made a little mark. And then I connected those 2 marks to get my baseline. I'm drawing very lightly because this is all just construction lines right now. Okay. Now, because I have a letter odd number, I need to make sure I have room for my A right here. So I'm going to go ahead, and I've already kind of done some math, and I found out that this is 12 inches long. So if you have as much as 10 letters, you need a little bit of space in between them. So you're not going to be able to go more than say an inch. Okay, because that's a lot of letters to cram in. So I'm going to make them an inch wide and a 1/4 inch space in between. So just a reminder, I'm going to be starting, this is 12-inch paper, so I'm going to be finding the 6 is the halfway point. And to make my letter an inch, I'm going to be going halfway over to 5.5 and then halfway over to 6.5. So then I'll go from 5.5 to 6.5 will give me 1 inch. And then I'm going to make a 1/4 inch space. So this is a 1/4 inch space. So from 6.5 to this mark in between 6.5 and 7 is a 1/4. So I'm going to make that much space in between my letters, a 1/4 of an inch in between my letters. That much space right there. Okay. All right. Now, if you're using computer paper, you have 11 inches to work with. So that's going to put you at 5.5 to find your center. Okay. All right. So I'm going to make every letter an inch. So I'm going from the 6 to 5.5 and 6.5. And again, if I was on 11-inch paper, I'd be lining up my center point at 5.5. And so I'd be making a mark at 5 and 6. That's if I had 11-inch paper. That's going to give me a 1-inch letter. I'm going to make a mark a 1/4 of an inch over to make sure that that's going to be my space in between the letters. A 1/4 inch over, that's going to be my space in between the letters. So I'm going to make a really light line going this way just to let myself know that that's space and not meant to be part of the letter. Okay, so this is going to be my letter. This is going to be a little space between them. So I'm drawing everything very lightly just for my own knowledge. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and my next mark should be 1 inch from there. Okay. So I'm just kind of moving my ruler over to be dealing with straight inches. So I just moved my 6 over to make sure that I'm getting a full inch. So at 7, I'm going to make another mark. That's going to be my next letter. Now I'm going to make a mark a 1/4 of an inch space. I'm going to put a little tiny bar in there to make sure I understand that's my space. Okay. I'm just going to kind of move it over so that my 7's lined up perfectly. And I'm going to make a mark at the 8. That's my next letter. 8.25, that's a space. Okay. All right. From 9 to 10, that's 1 inch. So now I have A, L, E, E. So the rest is just space now. I don't need to do any more. I'm going to do the same thing on this side now. So I'm lined up here, and I'm going to go ahead and make a mark an inch over at the 5. I'm going to make a mark a 1/4 of an inch and just put a little tiny bar in there to make sure I understand there's a space. I'm going to move it down just to make sure I have a full inch. There we go, from 5 to 4. And then a 1/4 inch. Make sure there's a little bar there. Okay, and one more. All right, and so now I have space for E, M, M, A, right in the middle, L, E, E. So I'm going to have enough room for my name. Now, if you had a name longer than mine, watch, we're going to do a 1/4 inch and then an inch. Okay. And so that makes 8 letters, and now 9 letters long if you have an odd number. So 1/4 inch space and then an inch. Okay. So now that would give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 letters. Okay. So if you have 9 letters, that works perfectly. So find your center point, an inch, a 1/4 inch, 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 an inch. If you have 10, then we need to find the center point and we need to work our way out from the center. Instead of using the center as a letter, we need to use the center as a spacer. So if you have 10, instead of putting an inch here for a letter, you'd be putting a 1/4 inch for a space. And then you would have 5 and 5. And they would basically come like all the way to the edge of the paper. Okay? Because you'd only be able to fit one more letter in. So they'd come all the way to the edge of the paper. So that's if you want to make boxes. Now, in order to draw your letters out. So I'm going to make my letters maybe 2.5 inches tall. So I'm going to make a little mark at 2.5, kind of come down here and make a little mark at 2.5 inches. I think that looks like a good height for a letter. So I'm going to go ahead and get this on there. Okay. I'm going to post some other videos too of other ways to do this, that you can freehand it a little bit more if you wanted to, but freehanding can be dangerous because, there's no measurement. You might run out of space. So freehanding, I always say freehanding is like gambling, and using measurements is like having health insurance, right? It's like or car insurance. You do this in case you can't do it freehand. And freehanding this many letters and getting them all to be consistent is not the easiest thing to do. So now I'm going to make a 1/4 inch just like I did before. And I'm just going to make sure that I make 2 marks per side so that I can align them. So I'm just making my marks every 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch now. Oh, see, it's a good thing I checked. I already messed up. Look at that. That's crazy. I already messed up. I started with my space there instead. Okay. So 1/2 inch. I did a 1/4 inch instead of 1/2 inch. Oops. Okay, so 1/2 inch from the center, 1/2 inch from the center gives me 1 inch in the center. Now a 1/4 inch. And every inch, 1/4 inch, inch, 1/4 inch. Again, the 1/4 inch is just a spacer. Okay, so I'm putting a little bar in between them again to make sure I understand what's my letter and what's my space. What's my letter and what's my space. And my letter. Okay, so then what I'll do is I'll align them. Oops, my goodness. Okay, so I'll align them. All right. And so I'm just giving myself very light guidelines, very light guidance to make sure that I understand where my letters are all going. Okay. Pause for a second while I... Okay, So I have all my letters laid out, and now I would start to draw my letters in. So for, speed's sake here, I'm going to just kind of hand draw them in. I know that that needs to be an A because that's the middle of my name. Okay, so I would then kind of just draw that out like a block letter, or however you want your lettering style to be, or whatever you want the word to be. Maybe the word is relax or calm or whatever you want. Okay, so I'm just kind of making sure my letter goes the full extent of the box. That's why I like to do boxes, to make sure that I am in play here with what I need. And these ones have spaces. So this is going to be an E. So I just kind of come down and make sure that my center is right there. Okay, and then right here. All right, and again, I'm using most of the box for that, okay? So there's my E. Now, my next one as well. Same thing. Okay, now I'm not going to use that letter because I don't need it, but it's there. If you guys had 9 letters, then it's there. Now, if you had 10, then we needed 5 on this side and 5 on this side, right? Okay, so I won't be using it. I don't need it. Okay, now the M is a little tricky. So I know that I need the top of the M here and here, and I'm going to need it to drop down. So I kind of like to get that out of the way first, making sure that that's level. Now I can say, okay, this could be where the rest of the M comes down, right? Right there. And then that kind of helps me understand where I can establish my legs of my M. Okay, so I'll do that again. Here's going to be at the top, and I'm just going to and I want to come down the same spot. I want them to be level. So I'm just kind of bringing it over here. Okay, and again, I want them to be level. Maybe I should use my ruler. That would be a smart thing, huh? Okay, so there's my ruler. Okay. And they're about 1/4 of an inch, a little more than 1/4 of an inch, the legs. Okay, and then finally my last E. Same thing, I'd like it to line up. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my ruler over just to make sure I kind of keep them all aligned the same. Okay, there we go. Okay, all right, so we have E-M-M-A-L-E-E. So there's my name with my letter in the middle. So you might have, a 9-letter, and so you might be using this letter and that letter. So now I would find where I want my point of perspective. I could put my vanishing point here, just like we did with the A, and all my letters would be going that way. Okay, and so on and so forth. Or I could put it down here. I could put my vanishing point down here. And all my letters would be going that way. Okay, so it all depends. And then each one of these, same thing. You would always use all the points. Every single point you would use and draw it down to the point of perspective. Every single one, okay? Same thing. If I were to cut it, it would get cut parallel to the original line. Okay? So now it has the underneath, okay? And the underneath. So that's my E now right there. And then this would be cut right here. So that would be the underneath of my L. And then I would also want to drag it up to the top, right? Okay, and then figure out where you're going to cut it. I'm going to cut it right there. And I have to drag it down parallel to that line. Okay, so that would be the way my L looks and my E if I was coming from below. So see how if you're coming from below, the 3D edging is going to be on the bottom and the side that the perspective's coming from. See here, I have a little bit coming from that corner. I have to drop it parallel to this one. Okay, always parallel. So if I was doing the A, I would also go in the interiors of the letter, right? Can't do anything from there. How about from there? Yes. So I pull a little bit out, okay? And I would cut these guys. I would cut them all the same height. Okay, so that's for them. All right, and then this guy has to get cut parallel to that. So parallel to that line. That has to be the way we see it. Okay. And then this guy has to be parallel to that guy. So now we have the side of the A. Okay. All right. So we can see all that happening. And then you would erase all the extra construction lines. So that's if I had it coming down here. So that's one way to do it. Another way would be to kind of do the bubble letters like we talked about. So if I have a straight, line, and I also know that I want it to be even, so I'm going to put like another line so that I kind of sandwich them in between. So let's say, okay, I know this is my center point. This is where I want my A. So I would start with kind of doing this, like we saw in that one video of how they did the graffiti bubble letters. And this time I'm going to let them touch each other though. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of bring them out. Okay. And this time I'd like them to touch each other. So I'm just working backwards, keeping them the same. I don't want my M to be wider than my A. So they all have to stay relatively the same. So every letter should be the same height and width, even if you're freehanding it like I am right now. Okay? Okay, let's give this a try. So we're going to they did like actual ovals. Let's give it a try, actual ovals. Sounds kind of fun. Okay. So they just drew ovals over the sticks. And now they're touching. So now the letters are going to be touching. We're not going to have a space. We're not going to have a designed space between them. Okay. I'm still wanting to stay inside though. Don't get crazy. Because I do want them to be like level, even if they are going to be bubble. I want them to stay the same spacing. Okay. All right. To make it really clear, I'll go ahead and grab the Sharpie. Okay, so these are touching, aren't they? So we're just tracing the outline now. Okay. Just the outline now. Okay, so now we have our letters. Let me clean it up so you can see it. Okay, so there's my bubbles. All right. So now let's go back to that idea that it's down here. So if it's down here, all my 3D edging is going to be going to that point of that vanishing point, that point of perspective, okay? If it's round, it should be round. So that's going to get it. This is going to get it, right? So I pull out the line a little bit and then I just go ahead and mimic it. Okay, so all these guys are going to get it because they are going down to the perspective. So that's going to have some 3D. That's going to have some 3D. Okay, so anywhere you would normally draw for a hard block letter, you still draw for a 3D letter, for a bubble letter. Okay, so here I can't get this side, so it wouldn't show up, right? So this just kind of, when you're going into a curve, it just kind of goes into the space. So it just kind of tapers and then below. So all that gets shaded in. Okay, just like we saw in the video. So that would normally be there. A little bit here. Okay, can't see this side, but you can see this one, right? Okay, so kind of the same thing on this side. Make sure though, double check that you can, yep, I can go down. So that's going to be the 3D. And it just kind of tapers up into the M, okay? Just like that. Now, how about the bottom? Yeah, the bottom goes, right? Same thing here. The A. So you're just kind of drawing down like you would with the hard corners, except you're just kind of making yourself little spots of reference. So now we got this, we got that. So that's going to be shaded. We got that. So that's shaded. And then we got that guy. And he just kind of tapers into there. Okay, don't forget about this. So there's a little bit, right? A little bit, and it's up on top. Because we wouldn't see the bottom part, we'd see the top. Okay, same thing here, a little bit. Again, why am I curving it? Because the original is curved. So it has to be curved. It has to match and run parallel to the original outline. Okay. All right. Let's see about up here though. This is kind of tricky too. Let's see. Can I do anything there? Not really. How about here? I could do like a little bit, not much. How about here? Yeah, I think so. I think I'd see the side a little bit right there. Okay, maybe a little bit right there. Okay, how about the A? A little bit of an edge there. The L. The E. No, not really. Can't do that side, but can do the underneath. And so now the E's change direction a little bit. Okay, so that's what I'm dealing with the E. So we go like this and bring it underneath. Okay, so I'm going to let you pick your style of letter, and I'm going to let you space it and go with it and pick your vanishing point. I'm going to let you pick a lot of your own things now, okay? So that's going to be kind of fun for you. Okay, so Even if it's, like I said, even if it's like a real filigree kind of situation, no matter how complex your lettering style, you will be able to take it to a vanishing point and add depth to it. Just make sure you hit every edge or corner, depending on if it's a curve, a soft edge, or a hard edge. But every part, regardless of curve or hard-edged corners, you do want to pull to the vanishing point for perspective edging, okay? So even in here, I'm like, okay, I know that's round, but I'm still going to treat it kind of like a corner, okay? And then finally, all the way down, all the way down here. Okay. All right, and then that's kind of like right on the line, so not much going on there. Okay, so same thing then. I chop it just like I would there. Okay, I chop it. Okay, and I chop it. So that's the edge of my E. Now, because this is curved, I'm going to kind of come from the peak and wrap it in like that. So then we just see that as the edge, as the interior. Okay, see it? All right. Okay, same thing. We just kind of want this part right here. So we just let it go into the curve, into the curve. Okay? All right. Got that. That's our 3D. That's our 3D. That's our 3D. And then right here, same thing. So I'm going to crop it in. Okay, that's our 3D. All right. Okay, so now we have a 3DE, but it's more filigree. So you can do your lettering style any way you want. Okay, guys?